I'm going to be talking about the 5 things that every aspiring astrologer needs on their desk. If you are an aspiring astrologer, or even a full-blown astrologer for that matter, these 5 items are the things you need to have on your desk to read charts effectively. You may be attracted to different branches of astrology than the next astrologer, but the basics you need are the same. I'm going to share with you the 5 essential things every aspiring astrologer requires to read a chart. These items are distilled from many years of experience in my practice where I've cast and read charts for people. Although you can have tons more books and goodies that help you with the process, I have trimmed the list down to 5 basic necessities that you require to read a chart. The first thing you need on your desk is an ephemeris. They come in different sizes and styles, and I'll show you a few of them as well. So an ephemeris is actually a book that shows you the planetary positions where things are right now, and of course where they were when you were born, or when your clients were born, or when anybody was born, and they go into the future. There's a couple that you can get, different ones, and they tend to wear out. Amazingly, this is the one I'm using at the moment. It's a massive book, but it too has had there's a lot going on. So an ephemeris really is the best book you can have, because it not only tells you about the planetary positions, it tells you about eclipses, retrogrades, lunations, and many other interesting facts about the solar system. That's kind of interesting too. Back in the day, before we all had a computer, you had to cast a chart with an ephemeris, and you would need your ephemeris to calculate the chart in the first place. So that was actually the first book you ever needed. Of course, today you can just use your computer, but a good astrologer will always have an ephemeris. It's like the Bible. So when will you use an ephemeris? Well, you'll reach for your ephemeris quickly to find out when Pluto will enter your client's 8th house, or for the second time when it's retrograde, this and that, because you're going to want to say, oh, her house cusp is 10 degrees 57. When will Pluto be at 10 degrees 57? You'll open the book and you'll say, oh, it's next October. So you write on it. Although, of course, your computer can calculate it. This is the book you go to find out when planets are moving and so on. You're also going to want to discover if the next upcoming eclipse is going to be in a pulse, total, or something like that next autumn. And if you're doing horoscopes, such as I do all the time, you're going to want to be looking ahead to find out what type of eclipses are coming up, or which node they're at, and things like that. And you can quickly look in your ephemeris to find these things. So here's the other thing. If you never refer to an ephemeris, it's still a great place for your cat to sleep. So the third thing you're going to need is a computer with solar fire. Where would we be without professional astrology programs? So you'd be casting charts by hand, but really it's not the ideal way to go. Any professional astrologer will be using solar fire. I use solar fire. It's a really powerful program. It's PC based, and to be honest, I don't use all the features all the time, or even many of the features most of the time, but I definitely do use them. I do use the powerful chart processing ability and its calculations for things like secondary progression, solar arcs, solar returns and transits. These are used for client work, and of course the chart for right here, right now, to plan my day. You can get chart calculation apps for your iPhone like Astrogold, and this is wonderful for casting charts on the go. I use Astrogold for pondering the charts on my clients, as I always calculate in solar fire, but then I will still use Astrogold. Is of course also available for iPad, and this is great. I do on-the-spot readings straight from my iPad if I'm doing calculations. But if I definitely am doing if I'm doing client work, I will always go to SolarFire first, and then have the chart on the app as well. SolarFire is far more powerful program, and it can do much more than the actual app can. The reason I actually put clients' charts both on SolarFire and on the app is because I usually book my clients at least a week ahead, because I need time to consider their chart. You can't, these on-the-spot readings don't always work. So for a serious client wanting a full-blown reading, one of my full 1-hour readings, I will definitely have the chart on SolarFire first, and then work on it on the app, either on the iPad or the iPhone, during the course of my day, so I can ponder it beforehand and fully immerse myself within the chart. So if you work differently to me, that's great, and if you don't have SolarFire, fair enough. There are other astrology programs out there, but I use SolarFire, so that's where I'm coming from. So the third thing you need on your desk is the actual chart. You need the chart to do the interpretation. Usually you will print the chart from your computer, such as this, or draw it by hand. But just having a plain chart is no good, and you have to make notes to highlight it, to highlight the special planets, draw attention to a grand trine or a yard, and things like this. The extra jotting on the chart is best done in colour. For instance, you would emphasise the ruling planet in yellow, which is what I normally do as it appears on the page, even in the aspectarian. Then colour in all the grand trines and mini grand trines in blue, along with the normal blue because they're trine lines. And then if you've got T-squares, they're going to be in red, for instance. Thor's hammers are usually in the tangerine because they've got the sesquiquadrate, which is an orange aspect. And for instance, you would do all your yards in green because green or emerald is the colour for the quincunx, which is the main pattern in a yard. The reason you actually colour charts, why I colour charts and why you need to colour your charts, is because after you've done thousands of charts, you know they all tend to blend into one. So ideally you want to pick up a chart for this person and you can see straight away, for instance, there's a grand trine here because it's coloured in blue. I've actually done a previous video on how to highlight a chart, and the link is there. This helps you to actually immediately get back into a chart. If you haven't looked at a chart for a couple of months and you pull it back out, you can see straight away because you've already done the hard work. You've pulled out the highlights in the chart because, as you know, as a chart reader, you don't need to know absolutely everything. By adding primary and color and secondary shades and components onto the chart and annotating it properly, it's much easier for you to read the chart. When a chart has been coloured in, it's almost like a mandala for you to contemplate when you're doing interpretations. So it's such a valuable tool. And the fourth thing you need on your desk is your astrology journal. An astrology journal is every aspiring astrologer's friend. You will always be learning new interpretations for charts, and when you read astrology articles online, blogs or pieces in trade publications, there is always something new to learn. It could be a technique or another way to remember planetary placement meanings. If you write them down, then you don't have to remember everything. I start my astrology journals off pretty straightforward. I'll show you some more pictures inside here as well. For instance, I always lay out my monthly horoscopes in my journal. Not only that, I have many notes going on. All the months are here. I also do some handy planetary layouts and bits and pieces, and if I come across something interesting, I'll make a note, or if there's an article I want to start writing, I will put these details in my journal. My journals usually last me about 3 months, and I keep them all. I typically go for the moleskin, but this last time I tried this one, it was this Japanese one, slightly different, much more competitively priced, to say the least, but I think I will go back to the moleskin for the sheer feeling of the paper. Yeah, because I keep my journals for a while and for a long time, and I do go back and refer to them often because I've got ideas coming through all the time. It's good to have a decent journal. For instance, it's always good to have a little pocket at the back. You've always got this handy dandy thing where you keep all your bits and pieces, business cards of people you meet and so on. So I will use my journals every time I'm doing any, if I go to a conference like I was recently at Norwalk, I will take it there and make notes, or if I happen to go to some lecture or something, I'll take notes there. And you keep the journal because it's putting ideas down, because ideally, even though you know that you're going to do some astrology reading and you say, okay, well the sun is in Virgo and therefore this person is particular, you may actually, in the course of your experience, discover that you find that Virgos are something else altogether, and you are going to put those notes down in your journal, because the astrology you do has to come from you. It's no good just regurgitating things that other people have said. Ultimately, once you get past knowing the basics, the astrology you're going to put out into the world will be your creative expression of it. That's why you can get, there's 10 books on Pluto, each written by a different person with a slightly different take, and that's the thing about astrology. That's what the journal is for. Also, if you start off in the very beginning, it's a great place to put your notes down, and also you can start developing ideas. If you find that Venus is going to be your planet, you're going to write a book about Venus in 10 years time, you're going to want to start taking notes immediately, or whatever it is. I have a friend who particularly is attracted and for some reason seems to end up doing a lot of charts for people who are suicide risk people, and she's capturing a whole lot of information about that as well, and that's going in her journal. Whatever your thing happens to be in astrology, that's what needs to go into your journal. And the fifth thing you need, maybe not something that you previously thought about, but it is herb tea. In this particular case, I'm drinking the Lipton green tea, and it's delicious. There you have it. I'll take the bag out before I sip it. If you're not into green tea, of course, you can have your coffee or your hot chocolate or whatever it is. But you do need to have something because you're talking a lot as an astrologer, and that's why we use the green tea. Personally, I enjoy a green tea, a jasmine tea, and now and then an Earl Grey. If tea's not really your thing, you do need to find something else to be drinking because it's you spend quite a lot of time at your desk, and also it's a lot of talking. You've got to keep going. These are the 5 basic things that should be on your desk. There is room for many more. Reference books, oh of course, the books. But to cast a chart and read it, you only really need 5 things. Start with these 5 items on your desk as you immerse yourself in the magical world of astrology. I want to thank everyone who has helped in the creation of this video. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Alison Price. I'll see you next time.
So here we are. What do astrologers do all day when they're not doing astrology? Well, we're out and about in the city. I generally spend most of the morning in my office, and then in the afternoon I'll get out into the city. And this morning I'm down at the Vancouver Harbour. It's a fabulous little place, Spur, quite a touristy spot, and it's beautiful out here. And I've got some videos I'm going to show you of the seaplanes landing and just other quiet things happening here today. It's a beautiful, beautiful day.